Writing Python code to recover all saved Wi-Fi SSID credentials. In our previous video, we saw how we could extract stored Wi-Fi passwords from our Windows computer using a command prompt. Using the netsh LAN show profiles command, we could get the list of SSID that the computer once connected to. And with the argument, key equal to clear, for a particular SSID, we are able to extract its stored password. Like here, for our SSID named cabbage, the password is cauliflower. This term, key content, holds the password. Here, you can go through our previous video, which covers how we can extract the stored password of the SSID. We had to run the netsh command for every SSID to extract its password. It is quite time-consuming. But in this video, we will write a Python code that will extract and give us saved passwords for all the SSID that our system was connected to, in one go. We will be using Anaconda Jupyter Notebook for the purpose of writing and understanding the code. We will break down the code as much as possible for a better understanding, even though this will make our code lengthy. We are using Python version 3.9.7. Here, we will click on New, and create our notebook with Python 3 kernel. And here is our Jupyter Notebook created. This is how a Jupyter Notebook looks like. It contains these cells where we can write our code and run it. Let's rename it to something like Wi-Fi_password. Let us begin with our code. We will first import a Python library called subprocess. It is used to run new codes and applications by creating new processes. We will use this subprocess module to execute the commands that we write in the command prompt. So, in our code, the netsh commands, which we executed in the command prompt, will be executed using the subprocess module. To execute a cell in Jupyter Notebook, either click this Run button, or press the Shift plus Enter keys. Now, we need a list of all the SSID saved on our computer. In the command prompt, we achieve this using netsh LAN show profiles command. In our code, we will use the same command, with the help of the subprocess module. This is the syntax, where each argument of the command is written as an individual element in the list. This check output will capture the output in bytes literals. This small b is denoting this. This is the output we received. To convert these bytes to string object, we will use the decode function. But there is one problem. I have some non-English SSID names too. So, if I try to decode using UTF-8, then it is raising me an Unicode decode error exception. It says, UTF-8 codec can't decode byte 0xe0. That means, it is unable to decode my non-English SSID names using UTF-8 decoding. But if you have all English SSID names, then UTF-8 should work fine. In my case, I will use a different code page for decoding. I will use code page 437 or CP437. But how did I get this code page number? Well, code page 437 is my console's current code page. To know which code page your console is using, open the command prompt and type chcp, then press enter. It will show you the code page number. Or, alternatively, you can right-click on the top left corner of the command prompt window and click on Properties. Here we can see that current code page is given as 437. Also, I know that my current code page is not resulting in any exceptions. If I use netsh LAN show profile command on this non-English SSID and set key equal to clear, then it is giving me the output as required. If I try with this one, then it is also giving me required output. So, I know that 437 is working fine in my case where I have non-English SSID also. You can try finding code page value for your console, and try with that. I have also provided link to an article related to code page values, as per language support, in the description. So, here I will go ahead with CP437 instead of UTF-8. And on running it we get this output. Here we can see our non-English SSID names. And the code executed successfully without any error. In my case, I can now go ahead with the rest of the coding. But if you are still getting decode error, then there is one more thing that we can try. We will first add few more cells above this. Then using subprocess module, we will programmatically find the current code page value. This is my current code page value, of course, and you will have yours. Now we will set our code page to 65001 using the subprocess module. The getOutput function will execute the command and returns output. This will set your code page to 65001, which is also UTF-8, but it works. Let us check what is our current code page. Yes, it is now 65001 instead of 437. Here we will change the decoder back to UTF-8. On running it, we are successfully getting an output without any error. Also, these non-English SSID names are decoded correctly. Then go ahead with the rest of the code that we are going to see in a while. Once all the code execution is completed, in the end, set the code page to whatever you had originally. For now we will go with our default code page value, which is 437 for me. I have now active code page 437. Change the decoder to CP437 and run it. In the end we will see the output with code page 65001 also. Now let's go ahead with the rest of the code. In this output we can see that we have the SSID names. But along with them, there are other text which we don't need. We will get rid of them one by one. To start with, we can see this carriage return /r, and this new line character /n, in the output. They are spread all over. We will first split our output at /r and /n. I am writing these steps separately so that we can see the difference in the output compared with the previous output. Let us save this output in a variable, say profiles. We will print the output. Here we can see that the complete previous output has been splitted at /r and /n, and we have received these individual elements of texts. We can see that the element that contain SSID name is associated with text all user profile. So our next step should be to get only those elements from this output that contains the text all user profile. To do so, we will use list comprehension. The syntax and my personal way of interpretation is as follows. Take every line from this list profiles one by one, and if the text all user profile is present in that line, then return me that line. We will then put it in square brackets as list. By the way, the word line is a local variable in this list comprehension. You can write any variable name in place of the word line. Let us save the output in a variable. Print that variable. And here we can see that now we have only those texts that contains our SSID. But need only SSID names. So we will have to get rid of this all user profile text. Now in this output of all user profile, we can see that each element in this list has three things. First is the text all user profile, then comes the colon, and in the end we have our SSID name. So, what we can do is that we can split each element at this colon. splitting at colon will divide the element into two parts. One part will contain text from the left side of the colon, and the other part will contain the text from the right side of the colon. Let's write a list comprehension for this. For every line in the variable all-user profile, return me that line. But this time, split it at the colon. We will enclose it in the square brackets. And run it. And here we can see that each element of the previous output is split into two parts. The first part is the text all-user profile and second part is the SSID. We need the part that contains our SSID names. Now, in computer systems, the counting starts from 0. So for computer, this all-user profile text is at the 0th index, and the SSID are at the first index of the element. We want the information from this first index. So, after the split, we can write the index in the square bracket like this. This will give us output that contains only the information from the first index, which is our SSID names. But hold on, we can see that every SSID name has a space in front of it. This has space. And even this has space. We have to remove the space. Again, as per computer, the space is present at the 0th index of the element, and our SSID name starts from the first index. So we want the output to contain only the alphabets from first to the last index. And that we can achieve by writing the index range, in square brackets, as 1, blank. 1, blank means, from index 1 to the last index, whatever the last index may be. And by running this, we have received the list of actual SSID names. In this way we got rid of unwanted information one by one, and extracted the SSID names. But we see that in our output we have the names repeated twice. Well, this is because I have two Wi-Fi hardware modules in my laptop. And it is giving me SSID names from both the Wi-Fi modules. That is why here it's repeated twice. For you, probably, the SSID names will not be repeated. To get rid of the repeated SSID names, I will just change these square brackets to curly brackets. In this way I am just taking the output of list comprehension as set, instead of as list. It is now called set comprehension. The square brackets hold list, and lists can contain repeated elements. But the curly brackets will create a set. A set will contain only one copy of the element. In this way, we got rid of the repeated SSID names. Of course there are other ways to remove the duplicate elements, but I am just trying to reach to the desired output without bothering about efficiency. Let us store it in a variable, and print it. So, here are our SSID names, and this concludes the first part of our code, which is getting all SSID names. We will use this set of SSID, and extract their stored passwords in the second half of the code. So, we have complete set of our SSID names in this variable. Our next step is to extract all the information associated with the SSID, which should also include password, if it was stored. For the purpose of understanding the code, we will work with only one SSID first, and then we will incorporate multiple SSID in the code. So for our demonstration purpose, let's take SSID name, Sapphire. With netsh command, we will extract information about SSID Sapphire. For that we will use subprocess module. Subprocess. Dot. Check output. Brackets. netsh. WLAN. Show. Profile. Sapphire. Key equal to clear. Let's run it, and analyze the output. This is the information associated with SSID name, Sapphire. The output is a byte literal, so, as seen previously, we need to decode it. There are carriage return, /r, and new line character, /n. We will split our output on /r/n. So, let's do it. Decode. CP437. You put your code page here that you used previously. That may be UTF-8 or any other code page that is working for you. As I said earlier, the UTF-8 should work fine, in this as well as previously seen decode statement, if you have all English characters. Then, split /r/n. Let's run it. We can see that our output is now split into elements in list. And here is the element that contains our password for SSID Sapphire. Our password is associated with the text, key content. So obviously, our next step should be to extract only those lines or elements, from this complete output list, that contains the text, key content. And this we will achieve using list comprehension, just like we did previously. But before that, let's save this output into a variable. Let's print the variable. Now let us write the list comprehension statement. The syntax and my interpretation is as follows. 1 by 1, check every line stored in this list. If the text, key content, is present in that line, then return me that line. Place this list comprehension in square brackets. This list comprehension will iterate for every element in our output, and will return us only those elements which contain the text, key content. Let's run it and see what we have got. Yes, we have received what we were looking for. But this is not the final output we need. We need only the password. So we have to get rid of the rest. First, we will split this element at :. So, we will write split :. Let us run it. Our output is now divided into two parts. The key content is at the index 0, and the password is at index 1. We need the password. So, we will write 1 in square brackets here. Now, we have only the index 1 in the output, which has password. But here, we can see a blank space in front of the password. The blank space is at the index 0 of the element. And we need the alphabets from index 1 to the last. To achieve that, we will write 1, in the square brackets. This means, give me the elements from index 1 to the last. We have also seen this earlier in the code. On running this, we received our password for the SSID Sapphire. Let us save it in a variable. Till now, we have worked only on just one SSID, and extracted its password. But our goal is to write a code that can extract stored passwords of all the SSID in the system. To do so, let's merge this line of code with the previous line of code, in single cell of Jupyter Notebook. We want that just like SSID Sapphire here, the code should take each SSID name, from this list one by one, and extract its password. By the term list, I mean in general, list of SSID names. The data type of this SSID variable is actually set. It's written in curly brackets. So please pardon me if I keep calling it a list. We will write a for loop that will iterate over the list of SSID names. For small SSID in capital SSID, : this capital SSID is the variable that holds this list. And small SSID is just a local variable for this for loop. You can write any name in place of this small SSID. Let me indent these two lines properly. And here, we will replace the SSID name, Sapphire, with this variable name. For now, we will also add a print statement, to print just the passwords. We can interpret this for loop as for every element in this set, which is stored in the variable SSID, execute these 3 lines of code. So, in this for loop execution, what will happen is, first Android AP1570 SSID name will be stored in this small SSID variable. That means small SSID will now become equal to Android AP1570. For Android AP1570 SSID name, these 2 lines will extract the password, and then that password will be printed. Now, the for loop will iterate again. This time S alpha named SSID will be stored in this small SSID variable. Then these 2 lines will extract the password for it. And then the print statement will print its password. In this way, this for loop will iterate for every SSID name in this set, and will print their passwords one by one. Let us run it and see the result. We can see that we have successfully extracted all the passwords. But we need to work on its formatting. We should be able to see the SSID name and its password. So, we will add the SSID name in the print statement. Let us run it and see the result. Now it's formatted better. But the password is shown as an element in a list, in square brackets. If we only want to show the password and not the square brackets, then we have to write the index number. In this list, the password is the only element, and hence it has an index 0. So here we can write 0, in square brackets. But wait, there will be an issue. Because, we have SSID that have no saved password associated with them. Hence we have a blank password list for them. They are empty. And if we try to access elements, with an index, from an empty list, then we will get an index error exception. Let us try and see. See, we got an index error exception. To handle it properly, we will write this print statement in a try block, and we will handle the index error exception. The try block lets you test a block of code that can raise exception. And the except block lets you handle the exception. For us, this print statement, that is trying to access an empty list, is raising an index error exception. That is why we are writing it in try block. And here, in except block, we will handle that index error exception. So instead of raising an exception, and crashing our code execution, a proper message will be displayed, and the execution of code will continue. We will write one more print statement in the exception part. It will display a no saved password message whenever we encounter an empty password and the index error exception is raised. Let us run it. Now, there is no exception raised, and we are getting formatted output along with the proper message, for SSID without a saved password. This is how we can write a Python code, to extract saved passwords for SSID saved in our system. If you have changed your code page to 65001 and used UTF-8 decoding, then the final output should look like this. There is not much difference when compared to the CP437 code page output. All this code page complexity arises only if your SSID has non-English characters. Otherwise, UTF-8 will work like charm. If you liked the information, then please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your time and patience. Have a nice day.